Gentlemen, when I look back at my life, one of the biggest struggles I faced with temptation wasn't in how to respond, it was my own laziness. It was that I would hope the temptation would go away on its own, or I would hope that if I ignored it long enough, I wouldn't have to deal with it.
When you step into an elevator, you decide where you're going to go. And it's the same with your pursuit of purity. You can decide what you do, where you go, and ultimately the path you take. It's always your choice.
I'd like to talk to you about tempting thoughts and how they play a part in your pursuit towards greater purity. Now, there's two kinds of temptation we as men face. The first kind of temptation is when we go to a website or social media page and we're tempted by maybe some of the videos or the pictures that we see, and it begins to create unhealthy lust within our heart and our mind. But there's another kind of temptation. It's temptation that confronts you. Gentlemen, this is the kind of temptation that maybe on the way to work, you stop at a coffee shop and you see something that's not right. Or maybe you go to the gym late at night and you see someone that begins to stir up those unhealthy and unholy desires for someone that's not your spouse. Whether you're confronted by temptation or whether you begin to invite temptation, you always have the choice in how to respond. You must always take responsibility for your thoughts and subsequent actions. And actually, when we look in God's word, we actually can see one verse that makes it very clear in how we should respond to temptation. It's found in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. It says this: "We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God." Now listen closely. "And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." Gentlemen, when I look back at my life, one of the biggest struggles I faced with temptation wasn't in how to respond, it was my own laziness. It was that I would hope the temptation would go away on its own, or I would hope that if I ignored it long enough, I wouldn't have to deal with it. But that's not what God calls us to do. He says, take that thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. So you will be tempted. You will have to deal with tempting thoughts, but now you know how to respond and you can do it. And just because you make a choice to respond to temptation in a way that honors God doesn't mean that your flesh or your emotions are gonna follow in line. Walk in holiness anyway. It may not be easy, but it's not impossible. It may not be comfortable, but it's the right thing to do. And remember this, the pursuit of purity is a privilege. It's not a burden. And yes, some days are hard. In fact, some days are really hard, but that doesn't mean the journey is impossible.